Hi, I'm Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. I'm also the podcast host of Invest in Her and an award-winning producer, author, and TEDx speaker. Our show, Invest in Her, features phenomenal female founders and funders. As you know, women receive less than 2% of venture capital funding. Our series is about accelerating the funding of women by connecting them to funding resources. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, and I am so excited to have on two amazing women today on one of my favorite digital magazines online. It's called The Three Tomatoes. Yes, you heard me right. Isn't that fun? And I know you want to watch it now. It's lifestyle entertainment for mature women. I don't know if I'm mature, but I am older, so I think I count. And I'd like to introduce you to the founder first, which is Cheryl Benton, coming to us from New York. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having us on your show today. We're really
oh my
excited.
gosh, I'm so happy to have you. And Debbie Zipp is over here, your LA correspondent. Hi, Debbie.
Hi. Nice to be here, really.
I think everybody recognizes you from all your acting career, especially on one of my favorite shows, Murder, She Wrote.
Yes.
That must have been an amazing experience.
It was, and I did it with my husband.
Oh,
So
fun.
He played Grady.
We're still talking about the show, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mature women. Maybe not. So anyway, I'm so happy to have the two of you on. Cheryl, you're coming to us from New York City, one of my favorite cities in the country. I used to live there. And of course, Debbie and I are here in LA. So happy to pull the two of you together for this show. The Three Tomatoes is something I so look forward to getting in my inbox. And it's a free newsletter magazine that anybody can apply to and subscribe to, I should say. And not only do you have that cool newsletter, and I want to talk more about it because people can find out fabulous entertainment and books and movies and theater and what's happening, restaurants and all that stuff that I love in New York, Miami, San Francisco, and LA. So if people haven't subscribed yet, how do they subscribe? Can you walk us through that? Is it going to the website?
Yeah, just go to the3tomatoes.com and you'll see a subscribe button, and you'll probably also get one of those pesky pop-up boxes that will remind you to subscribe.
And the reason I didn't know how you subscribe is because somebody sent it to me and then I subscribed. And then whenever I want other people to know about it, I send it to them. So I probably never knew the process. But that's the cool thing is once you do subscribe.
That's a good way, too. If people see the newsletter, then they have an idea of what we're about, and that helps.
Right. And then they're going to want to send it to all their friends like I do. Cheryl, also so interesting, a few years ago, you published your own book and realized there was such a need for people to have all these services around creating their own books, right? Publishing, ghostwriting, editing, all of these things. And you started that company as well under this Three Tomatoes, correct?
Exactly. And that's been amazing. I mean, it was a fluke. I never, ever expected to be a book publisher. And after I published my novel, so many women started reaching out to me and saying, well, I have a story or I have a manuscript or, how do I make this happen? And I know that women over 50 have great stories to tell because we've lived a lot of life. And I really saw this as an opportunity to help other women get their stories out there.
100%. And here's what I'm...
4 years ago, and we've published close to 40 books now. So
wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And also, I'm thinking if I'm publishing a book, my money's on this woman because you were a former advertising exec, but I mean, with amazing accolades, Business Marketing Hall of Fame. You were the top CEO by Smart CEO magazine. So, I mean, you have such a great marketing background. I can see why you've done so well with this entity, Three Tomatoes, both in the publishing world and, as your online digital magazine. I would say if I was publishing a book, you're the woman to contact, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. And then over here, Debbie, you are part of this in the LA sector. So I know you're in a couple other cities as well, Miami and San Francisco, right? But LA, like, what is it like to be a correspondent for the Three Tomatoes? Because it must be fun.
Oh, it is. And Cheryl and I mean, we knew each other 4 years before I came on board to do the LA Life newsletter. And it's such a incredible experience having become friends and doing this venture together. And what I would say about the newsletter, the Three Tomatoes LA Life newsletter, is that it has given me such an appreciation for LA.
Yeah.
And what an incredible city we have.
Yes.
And it's like I will write about things to do here in LA. So that and I keep in mind a woman over 40 or a woman over 50, and I write about things that I think I would like to do.
Yeah, I think that's what I like so much about it.
And so there's that, and then in recently I've taken on contributors, and so we have sonnets, so we have a fashion stylist, we have a theater maven, and we have a woman who does our cover photos, photography wise, and tells a story about them. So I'm trying to enrich the newsletter with some other aspects, but that will resonate with a woman, who isn't a kid.
Right. Yeah. I'm a woman kid, but
yes, you are.
But I still love it.
And we have to stay kids.
We do.
In our heart.
I think what you all do keeps people young, because it's like, here's what restaurants to go to, here's what to read, here's what theater to attend. I love that kind of thing. I think most of us do, especially at our age. And just like you said, you're doing it from your perspective. What would you enjoy?
Yes.
And I think what you enjoy is what I enjoy. So I really enjoy that newsletter.
Well, and it's really funny how I have not met all my subscribers, but I love them.
Yeah.
And so I try to talk to them like they're my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And you just, I can't tell you how much I love LA now from doing this. It's been a gift, and I've been doing this almost 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
So,
wow.
And I feel like the Three Tomatoes in each city and the national newsletter, I feel we fill a gap that's not addressed out there, an audience, subscribers, women that are not addressed as much as they should be.
Well, you know what? So many of the things I get in my inbox are like preaching at me, it's like, join this group, we have our workshops, we do this thing, it's too much preaching, where I was so excited when I first discovered the Three Tomatoes, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so up my alley. I love to, go to the theater. I love to hear about the hottest new restaurant. I love all of those things. And that's what I'm excited when I see it come into the box. I'm like, the Three Tomatoes, what's going on this month? This is awesome. And right now I'm spending a lot of time in Palm Springs, so I hope you expand it to Palm Springs. Just FYI.
So I was just going to say, I appreciate your comment about not preaching, because that was something we were always very aware of, is, we're not talking at you, we're talking to you. And a special thanks to Debbie, because I started the New York City newsletter, and then Debbie was our first other city, and she's done an amazing job really expanding the LA newsletter. And something that is very interesting is when people sign up for the newsletters, in addition to getting our national newsletters, which are our traditional lifestyle newsletters that cover fashion, style, travel, etc., you have a choice to pick which city newsletters you want to sign up for. And the majority of our subscribers sign up for all 4 city newsletters, regardless of where they live.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I actually have to look into that myself. And then the publishing. So tell me about this journey into the publishing. And, every newsletter, you're featuring amazing books that have come out from your publishing company. can you mention a couple of them that, have really gotten a lot of great feedback?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I love each and every one of the books. It's like, birthing children, actually. So
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I love them all, right? One that came out very recently and is so timely and is very fascinating, and she actually lives in Palm Springs too, by the way, is called About Face, and it's by Carol Crutchman, and it's a true story of how she and her husband went into China in the early 80s and got into a joint venture, because you have to have a joint venture to do any kind of business in China, with the Chinese to build a 5-star hotel in Beijing, which they did. But little did they know that their Chinese venture partners were some of the most ruthless spy agencies and espionage, and they got entangled in this web that involved the FBI, the CIA. I mean, this is all a true story, and it reads like a Hollywood spy thriller. So that one is
wow.
Really
that reminds me of that movie Laundromat with Meryl Streep. Did you guys ever see that? OMG. It was like about how in the insurance company and then this whole dark world behind it, kind of like what you're explaining. Like this woman was just trying to collect on an insurance policy, and it went down this deep hole of really a dark society that was existing behind this, and it was eye-opening. If you haven't seen it, you all have to catch that one.
Yeah, I'll have to
Meryl
remember
Streep,
that.
you've heard of her, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
So.
Yes.
So how the books that how do you choose them? Do people apply to have their book published?
What usually happens is, yes, people reach out to us, and I usually will email them back and ask them to give me a little bit more information about the book, where they are, what it's about. And usually with almost everyone, I will do a first Zoom meeting is what we do. And we'll talk about what they're doing, what they're hoping to do with the book. And then I usually have them send me 3 or 4 chapters. And right away, I can tell if this is something that I want to publish and an author I want to work with. Because to me, it's very personal, because I work with all of these authors, and we really, over the course of producing a book, you really have to work really hand in hand and actually become, very good friends with people. And it's a lot of hand holding, because almost every one of the books that we publish and the authors, these were their very first books. So there's a whole learning process that, I go through with every author. But it has been the most rewarding thing I have ever done. I just can't begin to tell you. It's sort of like everything. As I said, I never expected to be a book publisher, but it's like everything that I've learned along the way in life, professionally and also personally, all have come together around the skills for the book publishing business.
I
So
totally
it's been
get
really
that. Like, I
rewarding.
always think life is like a puzzle, and sometimes in life we're doing this, we're doing that, and then all of a sudden it all comes together like, oh, this is what I meant to do. Like, this was my
Right.
purpose, and all of these skills we learned help us to do that thing that we were here meant to be doing. And I can see how fulfilling it would be to help people write and publish that book they've been dreaming of doing. And people need that hand holding. It's not easy to self-publish. And so, I love that you're opening that up and encouraging women of a certain age to go ahead and write that book. And like you said, it's almost like a marriage. But to have someone with your background, your expertise, and your enthusiasm, I love that, to help them to accomplish that. And, I once heard in research shows that people's titles, that author was the most highly regarded title anyone could have. Believe it or not, more than actress, more than doctor. And I think the reason is, this is just my guess, is because not everybody's going to be a doctor, and they know they won't be, but people could be an author. Everybody could be an author. And I think people really admire people who actually do it, because everybody has that book inside them, but not everybody does it. So when you do, people really respect and, hail that,
Well said.
Anyway, so bravo for starting the publishing. I love that it just kind of organically evolved out of this newsletter that you've been doing for a decade. And isn't it always exciting at our ages to just keep growing and blossoming and going and learning new things,
Yeah, you're never too old to dream.
That's it.
Never.
That's it. And Debbie, are you still acting? Are you doing this full time?
No, I'm doing this. I'm doing this, and then I'm of a certain age, and I've taken a little step back to try to figure out what else I want to do.
I love it.
Maybe
you're going to write that book.
Yeah, I mean, I've written a book.
Oh, you've written a book. That's
yes,
right.
I have. But
tell me the name of it. The Actor's Handbook.
The Aspiring Actor's Handbook.
Right.
What seasoned professionals wish they had known. So it's about, instead of telling you how to act or, what you need to do, get pictures, get on social media, all of that, it tells you about the life of a worker bee, not a celebrity, not a star, but what it's like to be a real working actor and how you get through that, what helps you along the way. And we interviewed we get the wisdom from about 25 working actresses, a lot of whom you might know. And it tells my story and my co-author's story, how we started and what got us into that. But it's about the journey of a worker bee actor, so that when people are thinking about becoming an actor, I geared it towards like high school, college age kids who are really in there thinking about that and why you should or should not go into the business.
Yeah.
And there's some realities in it. But I've also found from people that a lot of people like it also just for business. They find lessons in it that apply to anything you're doing in terms of your career and that. And yes, it was one of those things. I had the idea and then it was like, okay, what, but luckily, we got it published and it's out there, and
people can get it on Amazon.
Yes, Amazon.
And tell me the name again.
The Aspiring Actor's Handbook.
The Aspiring Actor's Handbook. And I love that you represent that the majority of actors are working actors, not, just the lead stars or whatever, right? I mean, the majority are working actors, probably 95%, right?
Yeah.
And so to realize that you can be a working actor and have a career in it.
You can have a life, you can pay your rent, you can pay your bills, you can raise your children being a worker bee actor. And what we try to say in the book is you always shoot for the top. You shoot to be a star. You shoot to be a celebrity. You shoot to the top pinnacle of your dream. But at the same time, the most important goal should be to make a living, because only 2% of the Screen Actors Guild make a livable wage.
Wow. I knew it was a small percent.
It's a very small. I mean, it may have gotten better.
To you. That's amazing.
But yes, and I have to say, through writing the book, I kind of always thought, well, I didn't reach this, I didn't reach that, and I judged myself for that.
And yet you're in the 2%.
That by writing the book, I realized, I was a success.
Yes.
I made a living.
Yes.
I was able to afford a life.
Yeah.
And support it through my acting.
Right.
So that's, there's lots of tips and tricks, and I think that's true of any business.
I do, and any book too. Like the whole reason that I love what Cheryl's doing with the book publishing is everybody has a book in them. Everybody has a story, right? And so I think it's just getting out of the fear of doing that book. But I do believe everybody, look at us. We all have our own interesting separate story that needs to be told. And I do think it is cathartic to, especially as we get older, run through, well, what have been our accomplishments and what have we achieved and who have we touched and what difference have we made? And by going back over our life history, it's healing, it's empowering, right? And so, what are some of the books that you have coming out soon that we can look for?
Well, we have, it's interesting because we've published quite a few memoirs. And I can tell you, working with an author on a memoir, it is cathartic. It can be painful. There's times when it's very emotional. We're working with two authors right now on their memoirs. One is, I'm thinking that I'm forgetting the name of it. It's Never Say Never, Never Say Always. And
I love that title.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's by Susan Warner, and who suffered so much tragedy. 6 years ago, her 35-year-old son, 8 days before his wedding, took his life by suicide.
Oh my!
And then 6 months later, her husband of close to 40 years got a rare form of cancer, and he was dead in 8 weeks. So within a little over a 6-month period, she lost her son and she lost her husband. But her story is one that I think is going to help a lot of people, because it's really how she rediscovered herself, how she, she said, you don't move on, you move forward, and you still move on with the people that you've lost, which is such a beautiful expression. And how she's gone on to find love and a whole new life for herself. So it's a very wonderful book.
Wow, that sounds really powerful.
Yeah.
We will definitely look for that.
Another one we're working on, the title of that is From Hungary to Hollywood. And it's a woman who got out of Hungary as a teenager when they were closing, actually escaped over the borders, and ended up in Hollywood as a screenwriter and an agent. It's a really, really fascinating story. So.
Wow, that sounds amazing. You have no wonder you're loving this. You have such incredible books coming out, and that you've done. I love that. I love that. And like I said, people don't know how to begin, and so the first thing is to send an email over to you, Cheryl, and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and let's get started, right?
Yeah, we have a publishing website, actually, the threetomatospublishing.com, and they can fill out a form and an email form. And
what's the name of that website?
In touch with everyone. Pardon?
What's the name of that website?
The threetomatospublishing.com.
The threetomatospublishing.com.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And I always respond to everyone, because everyone deserves a chance to hear their story at least listened to.
I love that. I love that. In fact, my guest that was just on my podcast has a book coming out. We're going to send her over there, Cheryl.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, ladies, I just love what you're doing. Is there anything you'd like to share that's coming out, any new sections, or just your favorite sections of the digital newsletter that you send out?
Wow.
Well, it's all of them. In addition to the 4 cities, we have our 2 weekly lifestyle segments, and then we do a lot of events, especially in New York. And our big event every year, we just finished this past May, is called the Renewal Summit. And it's an all-day, fantastic event. This year, the theme was, if not now, when? And we have great speakers and panels. And really, I'm hoping that we can attract more people from around the country to come to it next year, because it's a really
I love
great
that.
day.
Well, you know what? If people like to read, if they like to go to theater, good restaurants, travel, fashion, and just all around lifestyle and fun, the Three Tomatoes is the place to go. And I'm so happy today we had on the top tomato.
She is.
Cheryl Benton and Debbie Zipp, thank you so much for being on the show today. Is the best way for them to find or sign up to subscribe for it, the threetomatoes.com, did we say?
Yes.
And let's talk about your social media. Where do people find you all?
We're on Facebook at The Three Tomatoes, Instagram at The Three Tomatoes, the number 3 tomatoes on Twitter, I think.
Okay, great. And what if someone is in one of these cities, or any city, but I'm going to say LA, New York, Miami, or San Francisco, and they have something that they would like you to promote within the newsletter, do you all take those submissions, and how do they submit for that?
We absolutely do. They can email tomato at the Three Tomatoes. And we love to promote people's events, especially women's events in all of our newsletters. And when they come to me, I always will forward them along to Debbie or our San Francisco newsletter or Miami if it's something there, or reach out directly to each of the news.
Love it.
Those individual
Love it. Well, thank you both for being on. You're both great guests, and what a great digital newsletter. My favorite, the Three Tomatoes. Everybody check it out. You can also find us at sheangelinvestors.com, of course, and on my Instagram, Catherine Gray at Invest in Her. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make it a great week, and I'll see you on the Three Tomatoes newsletter. Bye, everybody.